My name is Chris. I'm a secondary education English major, which is my absolute passion because I think that education is just one of the most beautiful things that someone can devote their life to. Jesus himself was a teacher, and so it's what brought me here to Flagstaff ultimately, because I want to just pursue that role of being a teacher to help inspire others, even if it's just one student, in hopes that maybe one day they will fulfill just the great gifts that God has in store for them. The grades that I want to go into is probably 11th or 12th grade because they're smarter, they have more of like a capacity to understand just like those deeper level questions. And so I really just want to just talk about books with students at that age. I would say my favorite book is definitely Hamlet. It is such a classic. It is such a controversial story too, but it's just so deep, just absolutely rich in themes and great characters and an overall great story. I'd say my story with Pride all began, I'd say early on in my years here. I'd say things just kind of weren't going my way as I thought it would. I thought to myself that if I give myself to the Lord, that things would get better. But I'd say they just never really did. I'd say everything would just keep on going downhill. And things wouldn't go well with relationships, things weren't going well with family. And so I began to kind of have just an anger in my heart, feeling that it shouldn't have been this way. Pride means to think of yourself above God, to try to take control of your own life, to think that no one else understands you because your will is ultimately better. The wound felt as if I was abandoned. I felt really lonely, that no one else really understood what I was going through. And that's where the pride began, that I felt no one understood the kind of pain I was going through failed relationships, through family problems, and through health issues as well. I think my healing all began later on. One day, I realized I wasn't going where I wanted to be, and to the point where I was having so many problems, I didn't know how the future would play out. And so I started to have a lot of anxieties about how the future would play out. I felt as if I had to take control of my own future because since I felt abandoned, I felt no one else was going to do it but me. And that's where all my anxieties began. The road to healing all started when I was in the chapel, just crying, and I just felt absolutely destroyed and broken. And I heard a voice just tell me that it takes a lot of pride to be worried. Soon after, I started to realize that it was my own pride that made me worry. It made me feel abandoned. It made me feel as if everything was against me. I would say after that moment, I had to first go back to the root of it, go back to where it all started. And that all started just back when I started to believe that no one understood me and that I was abandoned. And I had to just confront that lie straight ahead. There was nothing else I could have done but go back to the root. And so there was a lot of prayer and a lot of litany of humilities being prayed as well. I'd say it was through pride that it taught me to have a deeper appreciation for the Lord and for the sacraments. I think after kind of reconciling with my own pride, it just helped me have just such a love for all the sacraments, a lot more. And that's how I'd say that there was some good from that as well. I tried to just talk with God about it, ask him, why do I feel this way? And is it true that you don't want what's best for me? Is it true that you abandoned me? And how to just weed out all the lies that were being told to me by the devil. And that's where I think the healing slowly started to happen. I'd say the truth that was truly spoken to me was that I am not alone and that God has been watching me this entire time, that he's been writing a story for me all along. And it all goes back to when I first had my biggest conversion. The verse that really led me to the biggest conversion was Genesis 15:5, that you don't understand to count the stars in the sky, for I have great plans for you, something along those lines. I started to doubt God back then, and I didn't look forward into the future. And no, I didn't think about how he could be using me or using my problems for his greater good. And so the truth behind it all was that it's all for a reason, and it's all going to be better one day. The fruits that came from that time were the community, actually, that came from it. I slowly started to talk about what I was going through with others. And it was through those moments where I learned that there are people who go through very similar things that I do. Everyone has problems, everyone has family problems, everyone has anxieties, and it's not something that's unique to me. And that's when I slowly started to realize that everyone is going through something. And those were the fruits that came from it, because it helped me have more compassion towards others and wanting to be someone who thinks about myself less and wants to just give my heart out to others more, to make sure that no one else feels the same way I did at one point. I love the litany of humility, but my most favorite one is that let others become holier than I, granted that I become as holy as I need to be. It's such a just humbling moment to realize that we all have our goals, we all have a destination, and just because your destination looks different than everybody else's doesn't mean you're on the wrong one. It reminds me a lot of St. Peter when he tells Jesus, what about that guy over there? What about John? What is his purpose? But Jesus sets him aside saying, if I want John to stay until the second coming, I'll let him, but you got to do what you got to do. It ties into my favorite story in the Bible of the last chapter of John, where Peter feels just so much regrets, and he, instead of deciding to stay in despair, he runs towards Jesus, he swims after him, and Jesus takes him back to the moments where at the charcoal fire, and then offers him a different response. He asks him, do you love me? And every single time Jesus asks Peter that, I feel like I'm in Peter's shoes, always asking me, Chris, do you love me? And then I'm desperately just crying, saying, yes, Lord, I love you. I would say the first time I felt the Lord truly loved me was all the way back in my senior year of high school. And I felt just so lonely. I had gone through a difficult relationship and I just didn't feel seen at all. I felt empty. And it ties back into what I was saying earlier when I heard the story of Genesis being told. And when God tells Abraham to count the stars, I felt that calling in my heart saying that I'm going through suffering and everything for a reason. And that's when I truly felt the Lord for the first time. I feel like I'm always just called to go to Mass every single day as much as possible. Mass has changed my heart because Mass is just such a beautiful thing because Jesus is truly present there. And so not only are you just with Jesus, it's Jesus being intimate with you. He wants to just be close to you. It helps expand your hearts. It's the last thing that Jesus wanted us to do. He gave us the sacraments, and so he wanted us to be there and he wanted to see us. And so it's that comfort through being at Mass that helps me move forward every single time to be with Jesus and just receive him as well. I think to receive Jesus is just absolutely wonderful because it shows not only his humility for us, but also his love for us as well. It just feels as if you know you're not alone. You know that he loves you. And it's just a feeling of great joy and a taste of like what heaven will be like eventually. By spending time with Jesus and telling him what's on my heart, it helps me prepare to see like what I need to offer up this Mass for, whether it's family or friends or an exam. By spending time in adoration, it's a reflection of my heart.